I'm talking about everybody came off their mic and started chastising me when I did it as clean as possible.
Oh
I
my
was over
God.
here hollering because it was almost like, what do you say? You can't say that. I like, listen, I gave you the clean version. And everybody got what I mean. And who hasn't caught a train?
And I'm
Yeah,
done.
y'all ain't never caught a
See,
train.
these are the things that don't make the cut,
I caught it, but
ladies and
I caught
gentlemen.
it during the show, and I felt like it was not necessary to talk about afterwards. But I caught it.
But I remember people came off the mic was talking. It was like, Ron, you're going too far. She was like, Ron, what are you doing? I said, Sheila, what did I do? Because you never caught an Amtrak train before. Are you telling me
You
that you
know
ladies never caught a
what?
train?
He tried.
And I
He
dare you
tries
to answer
so
that question.
hard to clean stuff up. He really do, but he'll drop it and just run with it. Say, "Okay, I'm gonna see," and then you keep on going. I'm gonna see. Ain't nobody saying nothing. It's just like that little kid that I'm gonna get close to the stove. Ain't nobody saying nothing. I'm gonna get close to the stove. I'm almost there. And then they get a side eye and be looking back, trying to see if a parent gonna say something. Okay, I'm there. I'm close. Oh, here's my little hand.
But
It's
see,
almost close to the eye. Oh
but
my God. And then all of a sudden you get, oh, what happened? Oh, your mama done caught you on the backside with that belt. Don't play no games. Look, you think you getting away with something. You wasn't getting away with
but
nothing.
I'm
That was just
but
you funny.
I'm gonna take you back to when we had the room about the books, and we were talking about that chapter. Remember that great chapter that Wanda wrote about the girl and the guy, they haven't seen each other. They go on a date. Then she go back to his house. She fall asleep, and then he wakes her up because somebody else called or whatever.
Yeah.
I had all these women lying about. Here it is, America. Here's the situation. Okay, so basic setup is that this man has a girl. They trying to date her, whatever. Nothing happens. Innocent. They don't commit to each other. Nothing happens. His ex girlfriend calls and says, "I want to come over at 3 o'clock in the morning." Is she coming over to play Monopoly? No. She coming over to watch Harry Potter? No. She's coming over to do something. And I said, ladies, if you was talking, if the guy you was hanging out with, he fell asleep on your sofa, so you know there's no action happening right now, and then a stallion called you, who you knew can get the job done. Would you not kick him out and let the stallion in? They was like, "Oh no, we wouldn't do that. That's not appropriate." I was
What
like,
I say?
liar, huh?
But what did I say?
You said you would get to going. You said that happened to you last week. That's what you told me. Isn't that what
No, that ain't what I
you
said. I said I would ask. I would say, did you need a pillow and a blanket because it get cold down here at night?
said?
That's what I said. You could go
I was,
back and listen to that, baby. That's what I
boy,
said. You
you
ain't
know,
stopping nothing over here. You done fell
but
asleep on the couch. The couch is where you'll be. You ain't got to go home,
listen,
but you ain't coming upstairs.
we had all these very professional women with their fans fanning themselves, talking about, "I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that." I was like, I don't believe you, but it was hilarious. It was hilarious nonetheless.
I wrote the story, and I still don't agree with anybody that came up with their conclusions for the story.
It's a great matter of fact. Plug the damn book, Wanda. What's it called? People go, you need to read this stuff.
Dating is for
It's
the
for the
birds.
birds.
Dating
Someone
for
just sent
Birds.
me an email, a text tonight that they finished reading the book, and they loved it. Somebody from
It's
Oh,
Clubhouse that was
awesome. It's
heard
an
they
awesome
bought it from
read.
one of our rooms.
It's
Yeah.
definitely an awesome read.
because you have them from both perspectives. Like when you have the woman, she's married to the guy, and then she goes off and she's hanging out. Her friend comes to town for her birthday, and then she just start all these nights of just hanging out and just being disrespectful to him. It just tears your heart out because you either have been through a situation like, or you've seen it play out. Or you can really feel for the person because it's so visually written out for you. I think it's an excellent thing to talk about with a group of people if you have a book club or anything else like that. Now, let's move on to, do you have any superstitions? Do you have any rituals you do before to ensure a great show? Of course, my ritual is nap. So, do you ladies do anything before the show? If I want a good show, get a nap in before the show.
Go ahead,
I guess not.
I
It's
don't
after
have
dark.
no. I don't have any. I couldn't get off mute. I don't have any rituals beyond what I said. I make sure I stay close to home. I make sure I have everything set up. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I have my iPad up as well, so I can get messages, even though it's on Do Not Disturb. It'll come through on the iPad, so I can see. Because sometimes we'll text each other.
Obviously, Ronald don't know about the do not disturb
Obviously, I
feature.
just saw that as
Oh
I looked down and saw that. I was like, I can't believe he on the phone.
no, he's
Um,
not on the phone. He's right here. See, Ron taking care of business. Look at you. Look at you.
No, that little
so
Always
red
here.
thing popped up. Quit playing.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah,
Two
I brought that
times.
for you.
Don't be
Finish your
playing.
soup.
Tell her you'll be finished in a little bit.
Oh no, if it was her, I'll be sitting right here. She would be sitting here on my lap
You
while we're
know
doing the
what?
show. Like I'm
Bye.
gonna be able
I'm
to.
not
Okay.
done.
Anytime I'm
See,
not
I'm
talking,
done.
and
See, that's his ritual. That's
nom.
his ritual
Okay,
before a
okay,
show.
okay, yeah. So
If that
as
was my back would be hurting. If I'm
I
not on back,
cannot.
okay, so
I got a
can
couple
I finish?
ibuprofen.
Can I
Yeah,
finish?
I'm sorry. Go
yes,
ahead.
Wanda,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you. I'll make sure the phone is on do not disturb with the iPad set up so I can see messages and we have to text each other in between because sometimes we have to text each other. I have to text and tell you guys you're going too long. The conductor doing the show sometimes to keep y'all on track. The other thing that I do before a show is I make sure that I have my computer charged and all of that good stuff. There's something else I do. Oh, I always text Ronald before a show to make sure he's awake.
Yes, and I'm always awake. Sometimes I'll be like 8:05. I'll be there, but again, I apologize for that because I don't like to do anything late. But I was always on the job. I was just getting that coffee ready. Now this is okay, no okay. So let me do this now. Wanda, this question for Wanda. Now, when did the vision of a podcast come into mind? Because I remember you were talking about you were still like figuring it out. Like I think the idea came, and then I think you started doing research because you said something that you were talking about when it's something that you don't know how to do, you do some obsessive research. It's like you have to find the answer to what you're looking to do. So, talk about when exactly did you think about doing the podcast and kind of how that journey went from the thinking about the idea to actually getting it done.
I don't remember the whole process, but I remember thinking about it after the first show that it'd be really cool to change it and to turn it into a podcast. I don't even think I told you and Sheila like all the details until after it was done. And then I just started doing research. 'Cause it took me longer than what I expected to get it done, just because it was time. The first time was a little time consuming to figure out like which platform you want to use. So I did research on that, and I had done some research on podcasts before, but I did some research to see what was going to be the best platform. And then I think the hardest part was editing and figuring out how to edit, what was the best software to use for editing. So then I talked to a couple people I know who are in radio, and they gave me some guidance on some editing software to use, which ended up being Adobe has a really good software I use, but now I use an AI tool as well that allows it to transcribe. So the whole podcast is actually transcribed into text and edited from the text as well. So I think it was really but it really was like another adventure to see it come to life and be able to see go further than Clubhouse. Because if you can do one thing and then take it bring it to another level, I think that's always awesome. So you take it beyond Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a really good platform for doing a podcast because you can record it and then you can download it and then you can edit it. And I don't think I gave you and Sheila all the details until y'all working on something, but so it was great when I could send it to you guys and say, hey, guess what? We have a podcast now. So that felt good to see you guys' reaction.
It was a nice surprise. It was really a nice surprise.
Absolutely, because it was something that I wasn't expecting. And Wanda's like a gift that keeps on giving. So that it was a beautiful thing. And just to see how much we've grown just on that platform or on those platforms alone has been remarkable to see. So I appreciate you so much for just having the foresight to do that, and not just for shits and giggles, that we are actually just doing it because we are making people really sit back, laugh, and we bring some really thought-provoking topics to the forefront. And I think that's the comedic side in all of us, is being able to show, hey, look, this is funny, yeah, but why is it funny? And what subjects are we that may be a little bit taboo, but we still address it. And now, not just people who are in our sphere of influence get to hear it, but people who aren't even on this app get to hear it too, which is great. So I appreciate it 100%.
Now I want to talk about having a theme for each show. Like, here's the thing for me. This is a question wondering about because when I think about it, I know this is not Saturday Night Live, but when you think about it's live from New York, it's Saturday night, it's Saturday Night Live, office politics. It feels like having a theme where there's comma, dating, love, not being nasty. It feels like it limits you. That is the initial thinking of it, and I do feel like it's challenging to have a theme to stick to that. To have to come up with enough stuff to stick to that theme that really hasn't been a problem so far. But I have always wondered, Wanda, why a theme? Why do you feel like I have to have a theme, or was it a challenge for? Was it just something to apart from other things? What was your thinking behind that?
really don't remember how we came. I think it started with the theme was because we started off with dating. Because I think this really was a spin-off room from the book. From the book when we did,
Okay.
when we did the room about datings for the birds, and I think you were the host for the. I should be the host when we did that, and then Sheila was there, and Sheila was comic relief, and so I think from that, I think that's how we started doing. We did say, oh, let's do dating first. And so I think after that, we just kept with doing themes. And I think doing a theme, I think, gives you some parameters for a show. So also, if you're doing like a TV show, you have a title for a TV show. So I think that's part of also having the themes for each episode.
That makes sense.
And I think, and that's was something when Wanda, when she came to me and asked me to do it or for this to be a thing, I think that's something that I encourage too, because this is an audio platform, right? So there's no face-to-face, person-to-person engagement. So for me, from a comedic standpoint, there has to be some kind of content. And because I can't physically see people, we needed to have something that, okay, let's go with this, let's go with this, let's go with this. And it helps with the premise. And then people come in, they know what the title is, they still don't know what to expect. So there's still that element of surprise to it too. But you have to have some type of foundation, or I don't think that it will run as smoothly as it would if we was just all up in here freestyling. Let's keep it a buck. We ain't no rappers up in here, so we ain't just doing bars. You know what I'm saying? So you want to have something that you can say, hey, this is what it is. This is what we're talking about. That's why we have times before we even bring the show to that date that we get to flush it out and see and understand what it should feel like, what it should look like, and then that way we deliver it the best way we know how on this particular app. So I think that's why it's important, especially dealing with this type of social media app, to have a basis to pull from, so then that way it doesn't get stale.
And I think the other thing was that the theme was that because it's taped as like a live TV show, it doesn't matter if one person shows up or 100 people show up. And in Clubhouse, you never know who's going to show up. And so I think that was important to me that we do that feel, and it's a live tape show, and people are just watching it. And we may hear laughter because somebody's come to watch it that night. But technically, people can watch it later, and if they don't show up, it's okay because it's our show, and we're taping a show, and people just happen to be watching it.
But it really has felt good to have certain people that show up time and time again. That has been the best feeling. And again, it's a Friday night. You competing with Tyrone maybe coming over. You competing with the bar. You competing with a lot of stuff. The weekend started, so it really for all the people the faithful that kept coming back, it really means the world to us.
Definitely, we could not. We're always grateful when people show up for the show and laugh because that does provide some comedic relief for us, and it always adds to the show when you have people and you can hear the laughter, and it helps. I'm sure it helps Sheila. We have the response is always good to hear because
Absolutely.
that's the hard part. People say about doing comedy on Clubhouse, you don't have that same kind of reaction.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know if some of these landed or not. Now, okay, now we're here. This is woo, Lord. This is gonna be a good one. Let's talk about the challenges of doing the show, crowd control. Let me preface this. While we appreciate everybody that shows up, the central premise of this was invite some people on the stage to feel free to unmic to laugh only. But I think what happened is because it's Clubhouse and people are used to laughing and then commentary, we would get their commentary. Now, I said, because I'm gonna claim it. I'm gonna say what I said now. I said if anybody gets out of line, I'm throwing them down in the goulash. I'm kicking them off stage. I bragged that I was gonna be the bouncer, the enforcer. But honey, it's like it's really difficult to see people show up and they say a little thing and then it's do I throw them off or not? Because number one, first listen, they don't have to be here, but they show up for us every single week. So it's okay to give them a little chatter. But the central premise, and we have not been able to get this clear, is to get on the stage and just take your mouth off it and laugh only. And we recently had people that would decide to give commentary, decide to testify. It went from being a comedy show to being testimony in the church.
I'm hollering.
I just, I don't mean no harm.
Okay, Ronald.
Well,
We
I'm gonna
started for the first show. We had somebody who came off mic, and so I think if people missed the instructions in the beginning, they come in, they may miss And the reason why we don't want a lot of commentary is because it's a tape show and it's going to be a podcast. So that's the reason why. And then we don't want people talking over us and people don't get to hear us. So that's the reason. But we definitely want the laughter. And so I think it's always been fun. But from the first show, we had somebody come in and do commentary. Remember?
No, it ain't just been the first show. See, look at Wanda. Look at
I was
Wanda.
starting with the first show.
Wanda is great.
No, she wait a minute,
Every
cause
damn show.
he getting ready to take he getting ready to take it to the left.
No,
But
no.
yeah, we had somebody to just cause it took me completely off my square. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Jesus on the
And then I was like, oh, okay.
mailbox.
And then you did what you were supposed to do. You understood the assignments. So you did what you needed to do and handled your business, and all was right in the world. That's all I'm
But I
saying.
didn't. No, but I didn't get every. I have not gotten everybody. Every show, it's been where it's been a little.